Hello, Sojourners. I hope this episode finds you alive, awake, and well. I broke up this episode into two parts. The first part is 1 hour, roughly, and the second is equally as long, and hopefully just as enjoyable. I've had so much fun finishing this up and having a great time with my friends playing Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, rolling some dice, and telling some stories. I hope you enjoy the adventures of our sojourners Felthran Grovelore, Garindan Greybeard, Bramble Heartwood, and Hey. Actually, he's also known as Wilbur Norvice, but he seems to have forgotten his name. But he's a wonderful character, and I hope you enjoy him as much as I have. Well, enough of me talking, and so our story continues. Summertime rode in full stride as the forest came alive near Grovelore. The land sounded with a celebration of dwarvenkind, and many emissaries from the new nation of Waterdeep brought tribute and praise. The Sojourners reunited joyously after a year of absence in the business of life. And while at this festive event, Felthran Grovelore was nominated Holy Defender, and soon sat with King Gundren and offered up Graco his assistant in his stead, because he heard the news of a growing threat. With Bramble's arrival from Red Larch and the itch of adventure on his mind, Felthran called the Sojourners together to meet together with a curious fellow named Talus. Garindan noticed along the tour of Grovelore that Talus did not wear eye shields in the Great Forge, nor did he seem to mind the heat. Once they rounded back from the mines and into the brewery, beyond the door rested an industrious room boasting a large boiler siphoning a sweet, bubbling liquid into large kegs, proudly stamped with the Grovelore clan crest. The familiar perfume of hops and yeast graced the air. And once again, Talus turned to the Sojourners and dropped the question. "Tell me," and he added with a grin, "what do you know of the cosmic struggle for power, also known as the Blood War?" He first makes eye contact with you, Felthran.
I don't know much, my friend. I sense that there's evil growing again. I sense that there is conflict that needs to be resolved, but I do not know much. I've been occupied here in Grovelore.
What could possibly occupy your mind more than the cosmic struggle for the universe? He turns to look at you, Felthran, once again, his long robes coming off, and you see that his hands have a strange, thin quality to them, almost made as if he's made of paper. And he looks at you and says, "What could have possibly occupied your mind more than the cosmic struggle for the universe? Don't you know that one of these days, even your world will be ruled by the strongest order? It is fated. It is only a matter of time."
We are working to build that strongest order. I do not know what you're referring to, but we do not intend to allow Grovelore to fall.
He looks to you, Garindan. Grovelore being a pebble on a beach. No offense to your home. I understand mortals guard the property very closely. But what do you know, young dwarf, of the cosmic struggle for power known as the Blood War?
that ancient battle that I have done all I can to remove myself from. It cost my allfather his axe, and it is happening right now as we speak. And I very nearly was on the front lines.
So you've seen the demons and devils in conflict in Avernus.
I have indeed. I was on the backgrounds. It wasn't quite high enough rank, and just as I did, my allfather stepped in and saved me.
That was kind of Moradin, and this is incredibly fortuitous. You might have information. His eyebrows begin to cock, and it looks like he's about to say something, but he turns to you, Bramble. Have no fear, I do not come to harm. I come because your names have echoed throughout the universe. It is no small feat to have taken down a cult of Tiamat, and to bravely march into her temple on the material plane, as small as it was. You took down many dragons as well. But young Hin, in all of your accomplishments on this plane of existence, what do you know of the Blood War?
Only what I've read in books, and only what I've seen from my friend here. He points to Garindan.
So you understand that Asmodeus is the Lord of Hell, the Lord of the Nine. He's appointed, at one time, Bel and Tiamat to rule Avernus. It's a beautiful place, a wonderful paradise, a vacation. In fact, the city was named Vacatino, a grand palace for devils, fae, creatures of other planes to come and join the parade of indulgence. But they became fat and lazy. In gluttony, they were taken over by the demon hordes from the abyss. You've read of this.
I've read both sides of the account, but yes.
Oh, so most likely then you've heard both sides of the argument, why the demons should be allowed to rule and why the devils.
Indeed.
I'm curious to see where you stand.
Well, I know the kind of trouble that devils have caused my friends, and I don't appreciate that much. But otherwise, it's pretty much an intellectual pursuit for me.
You must understand, innings of the war for the universe are beginning in Avernus. That is the chosen battleground. The devils, as they have interfered with your friend's life, see every mortal soul as a possible recruitment for their endless war. Once someone serves Zariel or any of the archduchesses, even Asmodeus, upon death, their soul is reincarnated into a brawny, infernal soldier, straight to the front lines. And I can understand it was no easy thing for Zariel to release this servant, as he most likely would have been automatically promoted lieutenant, even captain, if his powers and knowledge. Not a bad deal if you're deciding to be immortal. The demons, however, well, they're like the 2-year-old that kicks the anthill and does not see the difference between kicking it or a ball along the street. To them, it is just the matter of destruction for destruction's sake. Although many cults and wizards and the drow can understand their point of view. It's easier to live in the wild, wild west where no rules apply, rather than the devil's infernal kingdom where everything is law and order. I look to all three of you and I ask you, you understand that no matter who wins the blood war, you lose. And Bonzarel, your own plane, is right next door to this cosmic gang war. He looks to each of you for a response.
Seems like the best thing to do then for us would be to shut the door, right? Keep it over there. Keep their fight on their side of the fence.
He narrows his eyes at you, seemingly pleased with that response, and turns to Garindan.
Here we go again.
Finally, he looks over at Felthran, and we all take a good gander at Felthran's physical and emotional response, as this is one of the biggest days of his life.
I think we have to keep them out. Bramble is right. We cannot allow our plane to be taken by Tiamat or the demons or the devils or anyone that is not for the greater good.
He takes a deep sigh when he hears you say the greater good, looks again at Bramble and says, the greater good? Well, many philosophers have wondered what that exactly means. I will tell you forthright our position in Celestia. We would prefer if Banzarel keep the demons and devils off of our doorstep. We do a great service to you mortals, and we ask you to set aside selfish ambition and vanity for the sake of the good of all the planes. This means giving up your very lives and the lives of your comrades, if it so comes to that. Calculatingly, he adds, but as your friend here, Bramble, has mentioned, shutting the door involves keeping them busy and occupied with one another. And therein lies the secret of our order. And he opens up his cloak and he reveals inside of his cloak an eccentric symbol of circles and lines that are jutting out, revealing all the planes of existence, planets connecting to one another. He says, I am part of an order called the Balance. We are secret agents, designed to keep the demons and the devils busy in Avernus so they do not take over any other planes. Because gods help us if that door ever creaks open. Many would call our service confusing, as sometimes we are wont to help the demons, and sometimes we are wont to help the devils. He looks at all of you, and especially Felthran, and he draws his gaze over each of you, and suddenly Hey is standing there in the shadows. And he adds, will you do whatever it takes to keep that balance intact?
I'll do whatever is best for my people.
Then you should be prepared to help those who are evil when the time comes. Your doorstep involves keeping them occupied with one another. The balance. And he looks towards you, Felthran.
I don't know that I can help the evil. They would have to show me how they are serving a greater good than the other evil.
Would it matter if they were consciously serving the greater good?
Felthran is fighting internally. He thinks yes, but he knows that concessions will have to be made. So I think he decides not to answer.
Garindan and Bramble, Hey, in the shadows, you all notice this hesitancy from Felthran.
Hey, brother. We'll do the next right thing. The thing is in front of us. Don't worry.
He looks to you, Garindan. What about you? Would you be prepared to do whatever it takes to keep the blood war in Avernus?
So, as much as I dread going back there, or just I'm done with that place. And I feel for my redemption's sake that I need to address this and put it fully behind me. So I've been on one side of the wrong, and I think now that I've some true friends and cohorts, I can do this right.
He then looks at all of you. He says, my name is Talus. I am part of the Order of the Balance, secret organization covertly moving from Celestia. We work with Lathander, and I might add we once worked with Zariel. if that piques your interest. I leave you the night. I know you have many things to accomplish, but," and he hands Garindan a simple mirror. "If you wish to contact me, and you are interested in this mission, I will offer you more understanding. But before I leave, do you have anything that I can answer?"
Can you tell me which way the war is currently going?
"Yes, I can. It seems that Zariel has run into quite an impressive weapon. This has helped her. An axe of Moradin, I think it is. It has aided her, along with the Hammer of Matalock. She stole the Hammer of Matalock from the demons. She was winning until the Burning Beacon was taken down. The Burning Beacon emits a radiant discharge, destroying any fiends in its existence. The devils know to stay away from it, and demons do not. So quite often, the devils use it to bring the demons into their thralls. However, with that out of power, currently, the demons are winning by 1 point. He looks to Bramble and Felthran and Hey with any questions.
If we don't intervene in any way, how long can you maintain the balance without our help?
Well, I do not maintain the balance, nor do we. We simply... And you see a proud look come over his face, as if you've asked him to clean his own toilet. And he says, stammers for a bit and says, "Well, there are reasons I was told to choose you. Lathander was quite impressed. And although the nation of Waterdeep is being established here and mortals are getting along, I anticipate that the balance will be quite disrupted within a couple of years. You may not even notice it. Maybe not even your children's sake. Time can tell." He seems frustrated that he can't give you a direct answer. And he turns to Felthran.
I hear evil versus evil. Where are the good?
The good in Avernus? Far from it. He sighs and says, "If it helps, I know of a particular temple in the High Moors. It's a castle that sank into the marsh. Inside the castle, it is probably overrun with all kinds of creatures, but there is a very powerful ruby worth tens of thousands of gold. If that interests you for the greater good, I can give you the location of that to sweeten the deal."
Does the ruby carry power or just money?
It is just incredibly rich.
I care not for money.
He seems frustrated and turns away. Hey, you've been kind of in the shadows a little bit. You're still got frost on the edge of your cloaks, your eyebrows coming from the wintry lands. How are you responding to all this?
I've been keeping my head bowed, my forehead furrowed, and staying in the shadows, but I take the opportunity now. My face clears just a little bit, and I step out and look at Talos. Who leads the balance?
Lathander, God of Light, started this quite a bit. Me and my cohorts, a couple wizards, Lady Silverhand. She's one of our members. You might know her from Waterdeep. We are a short few.
We're a short few also.
He Hey mutters something about custodians watching custodians. Steps back a bit.
I will leave you to think about this. If you are so inclined to perform this task for the good of all the universe, it's not my fault that you were born on this plane. But for any of you that are familiar with the study of the afterlife, none of you will stay here. Every one of you will go to another place of existence. I can't promise the Blood War will spill over into your territory during your lifetime. One day it will. It may have already done so if it wasn't for agents of the balance throughout the ages. People like you, who left home and land and family, giving everything up for the universe. I blathered on enough, and he begins to walk away without a single word. You are left there in the Great Hall. Gundren and all the dwarves are kind of cleaning up a little bit. Things are getting done. And there's a couple of things that you could occupy yourself doing during this hubbub. Meanwhile, there's a small little table full of drinks, coffees, teas, all kinds of fruits and pastries that are set aside for your enjoyment. As you gather together, how does the story continue?
This was not what I expected, my friends, but I'm glad you are here.
Yeah.
Sounds like we have a decision to make, and I, for one, have a hard time trusting anything evil. I've seen what it's done to you, Garindan. What it's done to others that I've traveled with, and any bond and association with evil has always turned out poorly in my sight. But I trust you, and I will defer to you if you see that this is the way we should go.
I do have to wonder about balance. What happens if they think that we have become too powerful? I'm sorry. I think I've been in this world too long.
No, that is a good point, Hey.
Bramble says, "Oh!" and reaches into his pack and pulls out a shaft of a spear that has some abyssal script on it. It says, "Oh, by the way, there is some work we could do here, too. It looks like maybe some gnolls are starting some kind of an uprising, and I've heard some chatter about that tonight, too. It's, I guess, becoming a bit of a problem."
As you look at the stick, you see that there are abyssal runes carved into it. It's got a very crumbly, splintery feel to it, almost as if it sickly and wickedly looks at you.
Looks like the exact kind of evil we need to stop.
This might be the next right thing, like you said, Garindan.
Felthran, if you would roll a history or an insight check.
That is going to be a wonderful 9.
9. It's not what you've heard about these creatures, but as you sit in silence, everyone begins chattering on, and you begin to piece together a couple conversations that you've had about dwarves, the sounds of hyenas in the hills, fresh blood, strange symbols etched onto trees, some kind of cult uprising. Not like Tiamat's, but a lot more destructive and less concerned with money, more concerned with destruction itself. Meanwhile, though, as you're racking your brain in silence, Hey and Bramble and Garindan, you continue the conversation.
These are amazing. He picks up a couple of the pastries.
Oh, hey, when did you get here?
That's a good question. I turned around and all of a sudden I was here. Minutes, I guess.
Good to see you, brother. There was a table with some things and gifts over there. I don't know if there's anything for you.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know where I would put it. And he pats his robe that has no pockets in it.
You do see a present with your name on it from Lady Norvice, your mother.
His eyes go wide and he drifts over to the table and picks it up. And as he holds it, his eyes begin to well up and he begins to cry because he has never received a present before.
It's a wonderful hat, a stocking that kind of drapes down with a large white plume. It's not very festive, but it is very warm across your head, keeping you nice and comfy. But when you place it on your head, you have the instinct impression that one time a day you can alter the appearance of your body completely.
Interesting. He rolls it up and puts it somewhere inside his robe.
You don't want to wear that thing all the time, brother? Looks like you're gonna go to bed.
Yeah, no, it's not quite my style, I don't think.
Mom's, huh?
A little too flashy.
So, as for Avernus, there's no place that I would feel like taking you guys there. Obviously, we've been to hell and back on this plane, but this place is literally hell. And the way that we get there wouldn't be too pleasant either if we were to go, so... But he's got me, thinking, and to restore my, that axe would be great, and to right the balance, if we did give her a leg up, then, I don't know.
Do we help by taking care of what's happening in our plane and in our area right now, and looking into the hyena sounds that so many people have been talking about?
Well, I know it would be good to crack some skulls to help my skull help.
Besides the hyenas, you've also heard the nation of Waterdeep is mounting an army, establishing a military operation. And the Church of Tiamat, although in hiding, seemed to plan to retaliate, possibly from their base at Parnast in the Grey Peak Mountains. There are many homes and territories that are without money, that are suffering the pressure from the war. With quite a bit going on, this celebration seems to have turned into a dire meeting.
What is the next good thing, brothers? And let's be on it. It looks like our schedule has filled up.
Well, brother, I know you wouldn't feel safe leaving this to Greyco if your immediate area wasn't taken care of, so...
Felthran, while you're sitting there, a young dwarfette walks up to you. Hi there, Master Felthran. Excuse me, Most Holy Defender. I want to inform you. It's time. Serena has taken her final breaths. She wants you there.
I will join you. Excuse me, brothers. I will see you soon.
Felthran runs off. Well, as quickly as Felthran runs.
The young dwarfette leads you away, Felthran, and Felthran leaves the company. While Felthran is away, was there anything Garindan and Bramble and Hey are paying attention to?
Garindan's watching the cleanup of the feast and making sure, he goes into manager mode.
Hay is actually helping clean.
Okay. As Hay helps clean, Garindan, a dwarf comes over to you and plops 30 gold pieces in front of you and says, "Oh, that's your paycheck, Garindan. We had a good night at Moradin's Beard. A good night."
Hey, take this and pass it out among the staff. We're okay for right now.
What? No. Garindan, this is yours. You built this place. No, don't even try.
I drank my weight in gold. Don't worry. Take it, please.
All right, but I'm not telling anybody. I don't want them knowing you're a softie. Bramble, what does your passive perception pick up?
Okay, so I will say, after the meeting with Talus, so before it, he had been sort of pretending to drink for the most part. After the meeting with Talus, he's a little bit more, the mood is down a bit and he forgets to pretend. So he's a little bit off his game.
Inside a small hut, an old woman with gray dreadlocks and wrinkly skin. She lies there, her eyes closed, breathing softly. The young nurse dwarfette stands beside and she bows to you, Felthran, as you walk in, and you hear a sound of a dirge being played. Garindan, Bramble, and Hey, you begin to hear the dwarves stop working, and one of the dwarves kind of grabs you, Hey, by the elbow and motions for you to quit working. He says, "No, right now." And he bows his head. Everyone takes off their caps, and you begin to hear through the halls of the citadel, splashing along the stone, the music bounces back and forth from your ears down the cavern. And a single dwarf woman just cries out in a hymn, and it bellows throughout the area. Inside, Felthran, you see Serena from the Dusk Circle, your mentor, the one who found you after Grovelore fell. The words echo in your ears from Gundren that, in exchange for skill and expertise, she gave up quite a bit of her studies to train you. She breathes quietly, and then she sniffs and says, "Yeah, you smell pretty."
Oh, and now I know you're sick, Serena.
Well, Velthy, I'm not sick. My body's slowing down. You know, I always thought it's got to be harder for you than it is for us. I mean, when do we ever get to see a dwarf die? And you go through humans like my nephew's rabbit farm. She begins to cough and breathe shortly. She grabs onto a towel, and one of the nurses dabs her forehead with a wet cloth.
Oh, take it easy, my friend. It is true. Befriending humans is challenging for an old dwarf like me. There are many who have come and gone, but none who have filled these almost 300 years like you have.
Well, I wasn't going to ask you for anything sweet, but that's nice. Can I ask you something?
Anything.
I don't know where I'm going to end up. And I can feel my soul peeling away from my body like the skin of an orange on a hot summer day. If I could go anywhere, I guess I'd want to be received into one of the upper planes with dignity. But if that's not possible, I want to be reincarnated as some kind of animal here on the plane here. That way I can keep an eye on you.
Oh, you know I need it, Serena. But I would much rather see you find peace in another plane.
Well, that's what I want too, but I'm just afraid that I might not make it. There's a lot of good I didn't do, and it's a high standard to live up to make it to the heavens. She begins to tighten her throat as fear and panic grip her.
Felthran's going to place a hand on her arm and say,
Serena, I know a place where you could be received.
and then without even asking, he's just going to start praying. He's going to address Moradin because he knows that she knows Moradin. So I guess I'll just try to do it here.
He'll say, "Oh, Father Moradin, this is a servant who has sought the greater good and has poured her life into me. As she finishes her time on this plane, will you allow her to prepare the way in Arcadia for me? And Lightning King, you have been so good to me, as Serena has been so good to me. Will you allow her to worship in your courts as I finish my time here on Earth, that we can run as stags together in Arcadia in the next life? And then he'll just squeeze her arm.
She does not squeeze back. The young red-haired dwarfette puts a hand on your shoulder. She's gone. And then she walks over to the body of Serena and says, "Per her wishes." She lights a cigar and hands it to you.
He'll smoke it.
The strong smell of the tobacco that you were so familiar with from the time that you had with her on Earth blasts through your nostrils.
I don't know how you did this, but I'm going to smoke this one for you, Serena.
The nurse nods and begins to clean her body, excusing you from the room. The dwarven hymn suddenly stops to the ears of Garindan, Bramble, and Hey, and you see Felthran emerge from Serena's room.
Yeah, you can tell that he's, well, you see the cigar, which is not very characteristic of him, but his head's hanging a little bit. He's walking a little slower than normal.
Garindan will go stand behind and put his arm around him. Just, I always wondered why your voice was so deep. Must have been because of being in close proximity to that cigar.
Close proximity to that human smoking so many cigars.
Bramble will stand as they come back toward the rest, or toward where we were. Say, was that you singing in there, Felthran?
You mean that woman dwarf? No.
Was that a woman? I'm sorry. I'm here for you if you need it.
Bramble. She sounded like this. Not like this. Come on.
Sorry, I'm still working on my ear for the dwarven tongue. I'm here for you if you need anything.
Thank you.
The sun sets. Talus has left the area and everyone's cleaned up. The Grovelore Citadel is quiet as ever, and you find yourself heavy, your eyelids are heavy with sleep. Arrangements have been made for you, Bramble. Hey, one of the dwarves, gives you a strong hug on the side, pulling your body down close to him as he embraces and says, "It's good to have you here, Hey."
Thank you.
You recognize it as Nundro, one of the brothers of Gundren, who you saved quite a few times. He makes a pallet for you, a wonderful bed, find a place, and there's actually Bramble and Hay have a joint room together. You begin to find that night is closing and everyone's moving towards their places of sleep, preparing for the next day. Now, how do you choose to spend this time, whether together or alone?
I think Felthran's going to, he's going to walk, he's going to go for a little walk, and he's going to head out into the forest. and just spend a little bit more time praying to Moradin, Lightning King, and remembering Serena and their time together in the forest. He won't go far, just a little bit. And then half an ear will be listening for the sounds of hyenas and the disturbances. And so always, even in the midst of that mourning, just still paying attention to what could be next.
It's a small little grove that you found yourself in. The trees move gently in the summer breeze. The nighttime sky is littered with the stars, and the moon is bright and full. And on this cloudless night, the thunder peals in the distance. Lightning flashes from somewhere. And you look up, and you see one of the constellations looking down at you as if it seems to twinkle in your eyes. The constellation of the Stag. And one star is especially bright tonight.
Thank you, Lightning King. I look forward to my reunion with her.
You stare off into the distance, and the summer breeze moves across your beard, blowing it in the wind, and the cigar is nearly put out by now. The rest of you.
It's a pretty heavy day for Bramble. I think he'll sort of settle in early and probably sleep in too.
Okay. Hey, you find that Bramble just collapses on the bed, pulls himself, the cover barely blanketed on him. His pillow is down at his feet. He seemed to have slept in the wrong position.
Hey, Bramble?
Hey, yeah?
So why are you so small? You're not a fairy, are you?
You know, hey, I've actually been meaning to ask you, why are you so big?
It's just the way I am, I guess. So I see what you're getting at.
I wasn't necessarily trying to get at anything. I guess I was. It's just a lot of us are small. Some smaller than others. He's treating you like you're a little bit simple. And, it's good for us to be different. We have different strengths. I'd imagine you could reach something high and I could reach something low. And if we stick together, we can help each other out.
Reaching things, yeah. Is this what all your people are like?
Yeah.
This is great. I guess that's all. I know you're trying to sleep. I should probably sleep too.
Yeah, there's a lot of celebrating here tonight. Sorry you missed most of it, but your head will probably thank you in the morning.
Oh yeah, it always does. I like water.
With a pitcher of water nearby your bed, hey, you see that the bed is overstuffed, feather-down pillow, and a woolen blanket.
I wait a bit longer.
And what do we see you waiting on?
Bramble?
Yeah, what? Hey, what?
Good night.
Good night.
The candlelight eventually flickers into darkness. Garindan, a couple of things are left undone. Some of the younger dwarves failed to clean up some spots, and there's some mugs that are left out, and there's a dirty dish rag of water, like a dirty bucket of water and dish rags that have been pushed underneath the bench. And there's one particular dwarf who's camped out on the bar, snoring as loud as he can, muttering a song about holy defenders and lightnings and fine dwarven ale, and strange humans from Waterdeep. That's Waterdeep.
Sleeping the sleep of the innocent. I would have been there too if it wasn't for that guy waking me up.
He turns and cracks his neck toward you and says, "Oi there, Garindan. You serving another round?"
No, my friend, it's way past last call.
Last call, that's right. Work tomorrow morning in 3 hours? You'll be joining us in the mines tomorrow, eh?
My friend, I think Moradin's got something else for me.
Yeah. What, you gonna get married?
As if anyone would put up with me.
Oh, yeah. True.
We have some decisions to make, me and my friends, and I need Moradin's wisdom.
Moradin's wisdom is simple, laddie. You get to work, and you don't stop till the job is done.
Aye. Yeah, I do feel like the job isn't done yet. Thank you.
Well, you getting the job done out there, we'll stay and get the job done in here and keep Grovelore nice and hot and pretty for you to come back to. I'll take care of the bar for you.
Done. Well, make sure you don't drink so much and make the clean properly, and we'll see.
You got it.
But definitely keep it bright as Moradin's forge, and as long as his beard.
He smiles, pats you on the back, gives you an embrace, and the two of you head out. If night progresses with the rest of you sleeping, morning finds you. Breakfast has not been served yet, although the sweet underground air that is coolly blowing, you feel the heat of the forge and you hear the anvils cracking, and the dwarves begin singing their hymns as they're marching off to the mines, prepared to dig deep into the heart of the earth, unearthing minerals of mithril and obsidian, onyx and jasper, various gems they bring forth as the riches of Grovelore begin to burst forth and produce a harvest for the work of the dwarves. Felthran, dwarves are patting you on the back, dwarves are shaking your hand, everyone is proud to see you as a holy defender. Graco's standing nearby in a very stoic form, awaiting your orders. King Gundren is talking with many of the emissaries from Waterdeep and seeing them off and kind of looking over to the rest of you like, I'd rather be doing something else. Hey, there's not many humans standing around, but there are a couple people from Waterdeep that might have interested you to reconnect with. But everyone is very busy bustling out of the Citadel as there's much work to be done. Garindan and Bramble, as you stand alongside Felthran, noticing all the accolades he's receiving. What questions do each of you have about this scene? And let us start with the vision of Hey as he looks onward.
He's looking but not seeing. He's more doing a personal inventory to make sure that he has everything he needs. People come, people go. It doesn't really bother him. He's just thinking of what he's heard and just doing a mental inventory.
And Bramble, through your vision, what do we see?
Bramble's studying the faces of the people who are coming up to Felthran, and just sort of not that there's any particular point to it, but just noting those who are genuinely enthusiastic for him, happy for him, and those who are not so much, who might have ulterior motives. Not like anyone's gonna assassinate him or anything.
You can do a perception check on that one.
22.
22. There are quite a few emissaries from Waterdeep that shake his hand, give him a side eye, and whisper in his ear a couple times about And you catch the language. Felthran, of course, you hear this too, but there's many things said to him, such as,
"There's much reward for you if you would join the forces of Waterdeep. Grovelore is established. We could put you in high places. We need a good dwarf in Waterdeep. There's much work to be done there."
Bramble, you see all these sweet gestures of promises of money, promises of accolades. And Bramble alone catches this information. There are various lords and nobles from Waterdeep. Some of them you saw at the Citadel. Some of them, at a time, were working with the Church of Tiamat, have recently switched back over. And Garindan, as you look on, what does your eyes see?
Garindan's studying Felthran to see if he really wants to leave this place, and he's got like an intent. He wants to go finish some business, and he knows he's going to need Felthran. And he was the one that seemed the least sold, and so he wants to kind of see what he can. Just reading his face, just trying to, because they've obviously grown close over this last period of time, and so they know each other a little bit better.
Felthran, is there anything else you wanted to add? Maybe something that Garindan might see?
Felthran's going to be very cordial to each of these people that are talking to him. He's going to be looking at Greco. He's going to be looking at Greco. Like, kind of every time somebody says something to him about leaving Grovelore, he's going to kissing hands and shaking babies kind of personality, but also looking at kind of looking over his shoulder at Greco each time. Maybe kind of just, maybe looking at him, then looking at Uncle Gundren, looking around Grovelore, just kind of taking it all in and trying to evaluate. He catches Garindan looking at him, gives him a smile and a wink, and then continues on in the conversations, trying to be diplomatic, even though that's not his speciality.
As you shake a baby and kiss a hand, you accidentally kiss the hand of Lord Nassar, and he kind of pulls away and says, and he is one of the ones that reaches into your ear and says,
"Waterdeep Nation has an opening for an emissary from Grovelore. I haven't told Gundren, but you would be great. We want you to lead a group to take out the city of Parnast, take it back to the nation of Waterdeep. It belonged to us before. It would serve you well to take out to stamp out this cult. There's much reward for you, Mr. Dwarf."
He smiles as if he's just offered you a wonderful offering. He hands you his card and says, "Speak into the scroll if you ever want to contact me." Bramble alone catches this message perfectly, as if he had spoken to him as well. Meanwhile, Gundren is about doing the same thing you are, Felthran. Every once in a while gives a nice shrug and says something in Dwarvish for you to catch your ears, where he knows no human commoner would understand. "Don't let the door hit you on the way out," he mutters in Dwarvish. "Thanks for taking all my beer. Thanks for eating all my food." And he kind of laughs a little bit. You catch Greco looking behind you, serious as ever. His arms behind his back, standing there. A couple of times, one of the nobles has a simple dagger, and Greco kind of steps in before and puts his hand on the chest of the noble and says, "Watch yourself there." "Oh, I don't mean any harm. I just saw that dagger." He seems hyper excitable, ready to do anything to serve the holy defender of Grovelore. Only the four of you are left around, and Gundren getting some much needed rest and working. The forge is going, the mines are going, the brewery is going. Everything is moving on, business as usual.
Well, my friends, seems like the excitement did not die down overnight. We have a decision to make. I feel my time has come to sojourn out again. Greco here, and he'll slap him on the shoulder. is more than capable to take care of Grovelore. And I feel we are leaving it in good hands, Garindan. The question becomes, which task do we take on first? And if you are all interested, we have the opportunity to clear this area of gnolls, the hyenas, the whatever it is. We have whatever that Talus guy was telling us about with demons and devils, and I don't understand any of it, but I know that we have to do something. Looks like Parnast still needs to be cleared of those Tiamat worshippers. And he's going to go on and just talk about all the different things that that are before us, and then kind of lay them all out and see what everybody thinks, where we should go, what we should do.
If you go, I'm going.
Hey, I like that.
Well, it wouldn't be a bad idea to shake some of the rust off. If we are going to go sojourn again, go around this area first seems like a good move.
Bramble, what do you think?
If we, from what I saw, if we do help out with Parnast, we'd also garner some favor with the new Waterdeep Nation, and that might be good for you to have some sway with them, Felthran, in case they need to be kept in check, in case they need to hear some wisdom. A little bit afraid of some of the stands that they're taking, the way that they're trying to be sovereign over everybody.
Aye.
You remember it was Councillor Winston who was appointed Chief Chancellor of Waterdeep, the nation of Waterdeep.
Felthran will look at Greco and say, Greco, my lad, what do you think about this ruckus in our direct area here with the gnolls and such? Is it something you and the boys can handle?
Greco looks around and says, I don't think anything's wrong with Grovelore. If I can speak freely, Master Garindan, Holy Defender, Felthran, if you're speaking of going, that's crazy talk. I insist that, I don't insist, but I beg to remind you that you are the Holy Defender of Grovelore, and it wouldn't be the same place without you. He gets insistent, a little angry and nearsighted in his assessment of you.
Lad, did you think that this 285-year-old dwarf was going to stay in Grovelore forever? Why do you think I'm raising you up?
There's no way I could take care of Grovelore. I could not handle the day-to-day operations. I'm just a young dwarf. I'm younger than Garindan. You should put him in charge. I don't know if I'm up to the job.
Son, do you see that shield on your back?
He looks at Fezzik's shield.
Do you feel that hammer?
He holds it up and it begins to burst in a little bit of smoke.
Do you understand where your power comes from?
Power comes from Moradin.
Then you trust that power. You trust the All-Father. I believe in you, I believe in the lads, and I won't be gone forever. But there are things in this world that need to be done for the greater good. Do you believe in the greater good, my friend?
I believe in the greater good, but the time of the dwarves is just beginning to blossom. Holy Defender Felthran, what could be so important to take you away from Grovelore?
Greco, do you believe that Grovelore is the only place that needs defending?
No, but seems like everybody else is doing their own thing, and it's our time to take care of what we've got here. We've got a chance to build everything. I've heard many of the young dwarves talk about how great Grovelore is going to be.
Well, you build a great Grovelore, and I will go and make sure that you get to enjoy it.
He steps back, His eyes go wide. They brim with a couple tears, and he grips the hammer as if you put the very life of Moradin in him. And he stiffens up a little bit. He raises up his spine and stares at you chin to chin and says, I am Graco, assistant to the Holy Defender of Grovelore, and I accept my mission.
Felthran grabs him by the beard and gives him a pretty hard smack.
The dwarf's forehead collides. Graco humbly accepts your words of instruction as you leave Grovelore.
Felthran will, at that moment, call attention to any dwarf that can hear.
Gundren and Nundro, Darden, Graco, they all gather around, and a couple of the miners stop what they're doing. They push the gems aside. They put their pickaxes over their shoulder. One of the dwarves begins to wipe down and tell everyone at the bar to settle down and listen. Hold on, Holy Defender's speaking.
Felthran would then say, Dwarves of Grovelore, I am honored to be the defender for this great people and for this great city. As you know, we have worked hard over the last year and a half to build back what was once great, and we are on our way to being great again. He'll pause for a little cheer.
And indeed.
However, you also know that there's a much bigger world out there, and there are a lot that want to see Grovelore and those like us fall. I cannot let that happen. We cannot let that happen. So, I will be leaving with my companions here to pursue the greater good throughout the rest of the world. My young apprentice Graco will be acting as defender of Grovelore in my stead. You will give him the same respect you've given me. Uncle Gundren, King Gundren, will care for you as you will care for each other. My request is that you pray to Moradin, that the All-Father allow us to accomplish the greater good for Grovelore, for dwarves, for all humankind, for each of us, that we can maintain what we have and make this world a safer place, a better place, and rid it of the evils that want to ruin it.
It's quiet. A couple of the young dwarves begin clapping, but suddenly it gets silent, and Gundren walks over to you, puts his hand on your shoulder, and says, Felthran, if that's how you feel, I know you're doing the right thing. We got your back. Let me know how we can help. We'll make sure Grovelore is nice and welcoming for your safe return.
Thank you, Uncle. You know I must go.
And the Citadel resumes business as usual. The second half of this episode is just a click away, and so our story continues.